Hi, I'm Caroline Mitchell, Canine behaviourist at Good Doggy. One of the most important parts of my job as a canine behaviourist is the assessment part. This isn't just limited to behaviourists and trainers. All dog businesses can benefit from doing a good assessment of the dogs that they are preparing to work with. A really good assessment will identify any kind of training issues well in advance. It'll help you understand your dog's needs. It'll help you understand how they operate, what their expectations are, and it helps you get to know them. It also gives the dog a chance to get to know you and your business as well. And this is really important, especially with anxious dogs. Spending time with you in your business, probably in your reception or on a walk or something like that, will help them get to know you a bit better too. And this means that when they come in for their first appointment with you, they will feel much more relaxed already before you've even started. So an assessment is a really good way to identify those needs. It's also a good way to decide whether you feel like the dog is going to be suitable for your business, whether you feel like that you can help them or not. And this is important because this can save an awful lot of time and stress, stress on the dog, stress on you, stress on owners as well. If it turns out actually that a dog might not fit in very well with maybe your pack of dogs, if you're a dog walker, or maybe they don't fit in with another element of your business, maybe you run a daycare, and that's not going to suit them. So the assessment part is really important before you decide on any kind of training plan or whether you're going to work with them or anything like that. Just getting to know that dog a little bit better will make a huge difference to how you move forward with each other. So the first part of the assessment for me really is quite relaxed. This is an opportunity for me just to watch and listen. I can get lots and lots of information just by listening to people talking about their dogs. You'd be amazed at how much people love to talk about their dogs and tell you stories about their dog. This is a great opportunity for you to listen to those stories and get a little bit of insight into their dog, what they like, what they don't like, that kind of stuff. So listening hard, asking just open-ended questions. I quite like to start an assessment with a question which is followed by a statement. So for example, I might say, tell me about your dog. You've only had him 3 months, is that right? This gives them an opportunity to start talking about their dog and also gives them guidance of somewhere possible to start. It really doesn't matter where they start. You could ask them, you've had him since he was a puppy, or maybe you could add a statement that says he was a rescue dog, or he's only 3 years old, something like that. Any kind of statement that you already know. Hopefully when you've had a conversation with your client prior to this meetup, they might have given you some information, doesn't matter what it is, but it just gives you a place for them to start, because tell me about your dog is quite a big statement, so get them somewhere to start with. Once they're talking, try not to interrupt them too much. Just let them speak, let them tell you their stories in their own words. If you work with force-free training, then sometimes people use terms that we might not like. So for example, they might say that their dog is trying to dominate another dog or things like that. Let them tell you their stories in their own words. We know what they mean. And that's the most important part, is that we're understanding what it is that they're trying to tell us. So don't need to interrupt or correct, or if they use the wrong terminology or anything like that, something you're not sure about, just let them talk. So this assessment could be in their home. If you're a trainer or a behaviourist, hopefully it will be there. If you have an office or a place that you work at, then you might be doing this assessment there. So if you've got a dog groomers or a vet practice or daycare, something like that, then you might actually have agreed to meet them in your place of work. So at this point then, the dog will probably be wandering around and starting to investigate where you are. So this is a good opportunity while you're listening to all of these amazing and fun stories to watch what they're doing, watch how they interact wherever you are, how they interact with their environment. Your novel, if they come to your office, there's an awful lot of novel items there that they won't have seen before. If they're in their own home, you'll be the novelty. So this is a really good time to watch how they respond to things and how do they relate to their owners as well. if they're asking their owner for something, if they're looking for attention, if they're looking for a treat, how do they respond to their owner? Does the owner give them the treat? And if they say no, how do they respond to that? What do they think about that? That can give you some insights in how they react to being told no. How do they resolve conflict, that kind of stuff. If there's other dogs around, watch how they interact with those as well. How are they behaving around toys, other greetings, other people, noises, that kind of stuff. You know, if there's a sudden noise going on, do they react fearfully, or do they just take that all in their stride? While I'm watching them, what I'm really looking for is whether they're prepared to make eye contact with people. A lack of eye contact could indicate some anxiety. Are they showing lots of appeasement behaviours? Are they trying to make people happy a lot? Are they trying to do they feel like they're trying to sort of apologise, get things what they want all the time? Or maybe there's some tension when they're walking around. Do they look quite stiff and anxious? I'm looking for any kind of tension. It could be tension in their shoulders, tension in their eyes, fixed gaze, that kind of thing, tension in their ears. So while these owners are telling you all of their wonderful stories, you're getting a bit of an insight into the things that they like and the things that they've been up to. Your owner has remembered these stories for a really good reason. They're important. So listening to those stories, you know, if your owner's telling you a story about the time a dog met your dog in the park and, you know, your dog was trying to get a treat and then they told this other dog off, you know, how did they tell the other dog off? Was it quite a mild telling off, or did this dog defend this treat, you know, to the death almost? You know, listening to all this stuff is going to give you a really, really good insight into this dog's backstory, into their history and into their thoughts and, you know, how they feel about things, what's important to them, what's important to their owners. You know, if they tell lots of stories that involve food, then food is a big deal perhaps for your dog. Maybe they're going to be highly food motivated. If there's lots of stories about them on their walks, perhaps how they like to play with other dogs, are they quite goofy, things like that. This will give you loads and loads of clues as to what this dog's like, and also any issues that they're having, because the owner will tell you stories about that too when things are going wrong. And they might not think that these things are a problem for them, but as you listen to all of these stories, you'll be able to really put the pieces of the puzzle together and get an insight into whether this dog is going to be right for you in your business, or if the problems they're talking about, if you're a trainer or a behaviourist, if that's something you're going to be able to work around, work with, how are you going to solve these problems? So that's the first stage of your assessment, is just to really not interfere. Sit back, watch and listen and take in as much as you can. In the second part of the assessment, we're going to be delving a little bit deeper. So we've already been given a really nice insight into some of the stuff that our dog likes to get up to. So we're starting to get an idea of what makes them angry, what makes them sad, what makes them happy, what makes them joyful, what makes them excited, all of that kind of stuff. So we're starting to get an idea of this. Now we've probably picked out a few things that seem important or relevant to us. So if you're a dog walker and you find out now that your dog has problems walking with other dogs, that's something that you're going to start to ask some more questions about. If you're a trainer and you're working on specific behaviour problems, you may have picked out a few that haven't actually been, you know, addressed ideally, that your owner hasn't actually specifically drawn your attention. Maybe you're there to help them with a reactive dog, but actually they've told you some other stories as well, and that information might be relevant to your reactive problem. If you're a groomer, they might have told you stories about other sessions with other groomers. But if they haven't, now's the time to start asking all these questions, to start to really gather more information. So you're going to be asking specifically about behaviours now. Maybe when did it start? How did it start? And you'll start to fill in all of the gaps that have been left through that initial part of the assessment. If you've noticed things that your dog has been doing while they've been with you that maybe seem a little unusual, you can ask if those are normal behaviours too. So if a dog has maybe reacted strangely to something in your salon, then you can ask them, you know, would they normally react to noises like that? Because maybe just being in a new environment has perhaps made them just more anxious and more alert to things. But it might be a conversation that needs to be had. Perhaps they are very reactive to noises and the owner hasn't really thought that it was worth mentioning. You might like to ask them at this stage as well about whether they've used other professionals in the past that are like yourself. How did they get on with them? Why are they not using them now? What went wrong with the previous professionals? If you've had trainers out before, this will give them an opportunity to tell them maybe if they didn't like the training methods that were being used before, or maybe they felt that they didn't like the trainer, perhaps there was a style that the trainer used. This is really important because if you are not going to be able to do anything different from that last trainer, then it's maybe a conversation to have with them about whether you feel like you would be suitable for them or not. Maybe there's something or someone that would work better for them and their dog. Or if they've had a dog walker in the past, finding out what went wrong with that dog walker. Might be something simple, just like they just no longer had availability for the dog, but there might be something else there that they've not mentioned at this point. So you can start to really delve a bit deeper into things like this. If there are problem behaviours that are in the process of being worked on or need to be worked on, this is also a good time to try and establish what kinds of triggers, set those behaviours off. Also, what makes it better, what makes it worse, how does it stop? So this is important because sometimes different people, different environments can affect a behaviour. Dog might be really bad and uncomfortable at being groomed at home, but actually when they go to a groomer in a salon in a different environment with a different person, they're fantastic. So this is the time to kind of figure that out. Sometimes I work with dogs that have really bad separation anxiety with one member of the family, but actually not the other. So that's another example of where the behaviour is sometimes better or worse in different scenarios. Finding out what makes a behaviour stop is important too, because actually very often what makes a behaviour stop, an unwanted behaviour, is that actually the situation just resolves itself. So if that be the case, maybe it's a reactive dog that you're out walking with, and the only reason why the dog stops being reactive is because the dog that they were reacting to has now just left the scene and they've been able to calm down. But that might not be the only reason why they stop a behaviour, an unwanted behaviour. Perhaps they can be distracted with a toy or with a treat, or maybe a loud noise can distract them. I've seen dogs that have been desperately guarding a piece of mail or something that they found in the house, but actually you can stop them from doing that by ringing the doorbell. That's more important to them than the mail. So figuring out, what kind of behaviours stop other behaviours is really important. So we know why it starts and how to get it to finish. Sometimes ignoring the behaviour allows it to stop. So this is a conversation to have with the client to find out all about these behaviours, getting deeper and deeper and deeper. We also need to figure out what motivates and rewards the dog. These are different. Motivation is something that will change a dog's behaviour. A reward is something that celebrates it. So these are not the same thing. Sometimes people will tell me rewards don't work for the dogs, treats don't work because when they get one out, their dog won't do what they want them to do. So a dog is not motivated by food, but it doesn't mean they're not rewarded by it. So having a conversation about that. Not all dogs are into food. Some dogs will be more motivated by toys, rewarded by food. Some dogs are motivated by praise and love and all things. So that's a conversation now to be had, figuring out what kind of behaviours are important, might be problematic. Is there a training in place? Can you work with the dog with those behaviours? Do they matter to you? If a dog doesn't like getting groomed but you're a dog walker, it's totally irrelevant. But if you're a dog groomer, this is really a problem. So we figured that out, motivations and rewards. So that step is really more about delving deeper into behaviours. So finally, what I like to do then is to watch the dog perform unwanted behaviours. We try to recreate problems, and at this point we've already done the sort of watch and listen. We've dug a bit deeper with questions So as a trainer or behaviourist, hopefully you've started to kind of figure out a plan. You've started to come up with some ideas about where you might go next with their training, how you might go about trying to fix things, what kind of plan you might be putting together. So those theories are now starting to formulate in your head. So the next step now is to test them. So if your dog has problems out for walks, it's time to go for a walk. If your dog has problems with people entering the house, it's time to introduce a guest to the house. Things like that. So we're going to recreate problem behaviors, and we're going to see how we get on testing different kinds of solutions and theories. We know what kind of things motivate and reward the dog, so we'll have plenty of those while we head out and do our final assessment of specifics. And what I'm trying to find out now is, what are the goals of the behavior? This is important because when we come to motivate a dog, the goal is going to be the thing that motivates it the most. So we know that some dogs are really into their food and they can do anything for a treat. But very often when it comes to behaviour problems, that goes away. And this is when people tell me they won't take a treat when they're on a walk. They won't take a treat when they're doing this. When I'm trying to do this with them, they won't take their treats. This is because the goal of the behaviour is more important than the reward that you're offering. So what I'm looking for is, what are they trying to achieve with their behaviour? Are they trying to make themselves feel safe? Are they trying to gain more food? Perhaps they're looking for attention. Those are the kinds of things. So while you're watching this behaviour, you're looking to see what it is that they're trying to get. Watch how their owner responds to them as well. You've already had a conversation about what stops this behaviour, so you've probably got a fair idea of what exactly it is they're looking for. So that dog that was reactive on his walks to other dogs, his behaviour didn't get better until the other dog had left. His goal was to feel safe, and that meant creating space between him and the thing that scared him. So no food is ever going to help him. Safety is one of the most important needs that we have. If you felt that you were threatened, somehow your safety was threatened, there's no way that you would take a treat to allow that to be threatened even further. If I said to you, how many Ferrero Rocher would it cost me to punch you in the face? I'm not sure that there would be a number, but maybe there is. For a dog, that's what they're going through. They're going, I'm not going to take that little piece of dried up food. I'm really scared right now and I think this dog's going to hurt me. So safety is that goal. If a dog's jumping up on somebody, then the goal for them is going to be attention. So these are the things I'm looking for when I'm actually watching the behaviour happen live in front of me. I'm also going to be looking for signs that the dog is going over threshold. So I did a video about threshold a week or so ago. Check that one out. That goes into it in far more detail. But essentially what happens when a dog goes over threshold is that their brain switches off. So again, there's no point in trying to train a dog while they're in that kind of state. We need to see at what point do they go over threshold, what causes that, and how do we get them back to normal again. So check out that video if you're interested in finding out how to check for threshold and what to do about that. So I'm watching for that. I'm watching for behavior changes. I'm looking for the dog getting overexcited. I'm looking for any kind of emotion elevating. Is it an emotion related to anger or excitement or fear? I'm looking for tension, stuff like that, because tension is usually the first sign of something going wrong. If we can establish where the tension starts, that's when the behavior problem is going to start. We'll be testing different kinds of rewards and motivators to see what is going to work better for this. Your owner hopefully will have told you things that they think are working a little bit, so we can test them and see, did it just need more time? Very often training falls apart because it's not being done consistently, or it's not been given enough time and enough practice. It's easy to think that you've trained a dog to do something when you've done it a few times and they've succeeded, but it takes a lot of repetition for behaviours to become habits. So I'm going to be looking at that. So if something worked a little bit in the past and then stopped working, I'll be trying to figure out whether there's actually any good reason to go back to that kind of training and just finish that, practice that, or do we need to make a new plan? And at the end of this session here, once we've gone through all of that, I will be thinking about what do we do with this dog next. So whatever business you're running, whether you're a trainer or a groomer, you're going to be now looking at this dog, deciding how are they going to fit into your business, and is there training needs, and can you manage them? So if you're thinking there are training needs and you would like to attempt them, then what you're looking for is a bit of a training plan, which you will discuss with your client. So the general goal is to find a different path to the goal that the dog was trying to get to and include a suitable reward. So in the example of a dog that is trying to seek attention, their path is possibly jumping up on their owner, barking at them, maybe scraping at them with their paws. So that was one path to get attention. The attention actually ended up being the reward. A different path might be teaching a dog to sit. Then they get the same attention, so the goal is still the same. The end result is still the same. The dog gets attention. We've taught them to do a different pathway behavior, and then we offer an additional reward. So we make it better than the original. So the original was jump up, get attention, and this way around it will be sit, get attention, and a treat. Double reward, same result, but just a slightly different pathway to get there. And basically that's how you work through any kind of behavior problem. You're looking for an alternative path that gets you from A to B, but you are keeping the goal the same, the goal behavior, and adding an extra reward to make that much, much better and the behavior of choice for your dog. If you need some more ideas about how you can simplify behavior problems, so check out my video, Big Dog Behavior Problems Need Simple Solutions. There's ideas in there about how to simplify and why you should simplify behavior in order to make it rewardable. So check that one out. So how long should it take? This depends. It depends on what you need to know. It depends on the dog. If you're a dog groomer and you're presented with a very calm and confident dog, then you might not need very long over this. A simple meet and greet at your grooming salon that takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes, that just gives you plenty of time just to get to know the owner, get to know the dog, talk about the dog a lot, might be all you need. If you've got a dog which has different kinds of issues, then you might need longer. If you're a trainer or if you're working with dog behavior, then you might be looking at closer to an hour and a half for a good assessment. I usually take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to assess a dog with behavior problems. That gives me loads of time to go through all of these steps and not rush a single one of them. The assessment is the most important part. A really, really good assessment will save you time, and it saves stress. It saves an awful lot of effort. Getting the training right from the very start is based on this good assessment. So this could be anywhere, but don't rush it is the thing. If you're interested in learning more about how to introduce dog behavior into your business, please do subscribe. There'll be more videos coming up specifically made for dog businesses. And also check out my other videos. There's loads on different elements of psychology and behavior that will be relevant, I'm sure, to you and to your business. Lovely to speak to you today again. Take care. Bye bye.